Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm going to be reacting to a war between Arjun and Krishna Acharya Prashant on Bhagavad Gita. So I'm hoping to find more of these, and curious about the takes from every Guru or Swami and anyone else that I watch. I don't know if they're considered Gurus or Swamis, all of them, but just people that I watch. I'm curious about each individual take, because generally they could have a little bit of a different perspective or a different insight on it. But anyways, let's go and get started. It sounds low.
Acharya ji Pranam.
Crap, is it low?
While reading Ramana Maharshi, I observed that out of all the scriptures, Ramana Maharshi has quoted Krishna and Bhagavad Gita the most number of times. And I have seen this with other masters as well, that Bhagavad Gita holds a very special place in spirituality. Why is that so? What makes Bhagavad Gita so special? The Bhagavad Gita is special because it is narrated in a very worldly, very practical setting. The Bhagavad Gita is not a guru sitting under a shady banyan tree in the tranquil silence of a holy jungle, sermonizing to some pliant, obedient, willing student. Neither is the setting tranquil at all, nor is the sermon academic at all, and least of all is the student pliant and willing. It's a real life setting in which you do not have the luxury of a formal podium, a formal appointment, a formal code of conduct. It's the war chariot, not the temple. There are armies around, not silent, idyllic trees and cute animals. And the one being spoken to is a biased, emotional, and unwilling listener. Not some keen student.
Was he unwilling to listen? I thought he was more like conflicted. And he was willing to listen, but it had to make sense. Again, I have not read any of the Bhagavad Gita, nor have I heard too many things. I heard that it was, is it Arjuna? Oh yeah, Arjun, maybe for short, and Krishna. Not Vishnu, I gotta remember Krishna and Arjun. They were talking, and Arjun was in conflict because he's fighting against family, and Krishna was telling him, it's like, no, do not be, because you must play your role, dharma. But Arjun was in great conflict with that. But was Arjun like not listening to Krishna?
The outcome of the conversation would decide actively the fate of many million residents of the kingdom. Not merely get entered academically in some pages of another holy book. Life and death depend on this discourse. In the literal sense, not just figuratively, literally, life and death depend on this discourse. Therefore, this discourse has so much potency. Arjun is the real life student, not the ideal disciple. Therefore, Krishna's persuasion has the cutting edge mastery. If you are preaching to the converted, how much forcefulness do you need?
None.
Nothing. But here, you see that Krishna has to be at its not merely godly but actually tactical best. Arjun is forcing Krishna to be at his best, because Arjun is such a reluctant listener. And therefore that which is now proceeding from Krishna is extremely charged and potent. Nothing less than words of the highest intensity and highest potency would do, because Arjun is almost wrestling with Krishna. Therefore, Krishna has to exercise and demonstrate all his power. You very well know how at one point Krishna actually has to demonstrate his own immense form, Virat Roop, to Arjun. Why is that needed? Because Arjun is one tough nut to crack. And that's why the Gita is special. It is spoken to someone who is caught in emotionality. It is spoken to someone who doesn't want to listen. It is spoken to someone who has to be convinced to fight and kill his own kith and kin. To fire on your own blood, your own relatives, is no easy job, or is it? Therefore,
It all depends on how they treat you. Let me rewind that. It all depends on how they treat you. If they treat you like garbage, but then again, who was that? Swami Taramananda, I believe was him, talked about the brother and the wife. They were kicked out of the kingdom. They were cheated from their kingdom, but the brother, I can't remember his name, remained calm. And then the wife was, agitated. It's like, why aren't you mad? We need to get back at them. We were wronged, rightfully so. But he was saying, no, we need to... I can't quite remember. He just remained calm. And I think some years later, he ended up taking back the kingdom. And I think he taught his wife a lesson, in terms of how to remain patient and calm, if I remember correctly. Where was I going with that one? But yeah, it's kind of the same thing here. I suppose it's kind of the same thing, because Krishna is teaching Arjuna. Is it Arjun or Arjuna? Or both are the same, just Arjun's short. To play a role. I guess in that other story with Swami Taramananda, he played this role where he patiently waited, and when the time came, he played this role.
your own relatives is no easy job, or is it? Therefore, it is no Ashtavakra preaching to a Janak.
Oh, that's where I was getting at. The brother in that story, Swami Taramananda story, it seemed easy, but he was, I suppose, closer to enlightenment. He was very much aware of the situation and is able to separate his emotion from his action, so he doesn't act instinctually or emotionally.
Therefore, it is no Yagyavalkya Gargi Samvad. Therefore, it is not even Nachiketa speaking to Yam. It is something that has an extra edge of intensity and quality to it. Krishna is facing a real life challenge. Arjun has to be convinced and converted in real time. Right now. Do it right now. Do it right now. Else Duryodhan gets a walkover. Do you want to give that mean chap a walkover? Do you? Look at the urgency of the situation. That's what makes the Gita special. And if you can look at Krishna here, you will realize the impossibility of being a real guru. Krishna is such a glorious example. The real guru is real because he has to deal with not merely uninterested, but actually sometimes undeserving students. I do not think it would be fair to call Arjun a deserving student. Krishna is a deserving teacher, but in the sense that Krishna is a deserving teacher, you cannot, by way of comparison, call Arjun a deserving student. Arjun is highly resistant.
That's a good thing, though. I think I would assume students who don't just believe, but resist not resist in the same sense, like, oh, I'm just not going to do it, but more along the lines questions your teaching and thinks about it. I think that's a good student. Obviously, there's a difference between resisting and then, questioning.
But then, had he been any less resistant, why would he have been a mere student?
Oh, there you go.
So the situation of Krishna reflects the situation of every real teacher. You have to pull up the one lying in dirt and make him fight the highest battle. You don't merely have to polish and shine an already existing ornament in gold. The task of the teacher is to take an ordinary piece of metal, iron or zinc or nickel, copper, and turn it into gold. That's the difference between a guru and a groomer. To take an old gold ornament and shine it is called grooming. That's not the task of a guru. A guru is like Krishna. Take iron and turn it to gold. That's what is happening on the battlefield. Awe-inspiring, poignant, beautiful, breathtaking. Real. What's about the Bhagavad Gita? It's real. When I say real, I do not mean real in the literal sense of the word. I do not mean
this dude's reading my mind. It's like, I don't know about real, but
that the entire 700 odd shloks were narrated on the battlefield or such thing. No, not real in that sense. It is quite possible that Krishna said something to Arjun on the battlefield, and later on Ved Vyas just narrated it in the best possible way, in his own words. Quite possible.
Yeah, very much. Arjuna could have very much had a vision and envisioned his charioteer, the dude. I'm sorry, I can't remember charioteer as Krishna. Why I keep thinking Vishnu? Don't know why. And then had that. I mean, it could have very well been like, how Swami Madanda says that, sometimes to get those visions, you take drugs, you get psychedelic. But it could have been it could have been him having one of those. I'm not saying Arjuna took drugs or anything, but no, just something similar to having a vision like that, where perhaps, I don't know, something just snapped in him. That vision probably played out super quick in his head, and they snapped back into reality. Like sometimes, when you dream or daydream of stuff, like a lot of things go through your mind, but then you look at the times like, oh, only 1 minute went by, but a lot of things just went through your mind. I don't know if a lot of people have that or not, but sometimes it happens. Usually happens slow though for me, like. But anyways, and then I guess, like he was saying, that someone saw the story, wrote it down as best they could. Very much plausible.
But even if that happened, that doesn't take anything away
from the story,
from the sheer intensity and the grandeur of the happening,
and the message of the story.
An
too.
able teacher is convincing a reluctant student mired in sentimentality to not to quit and do his dharma, do his duty. At a purely academic or conceptual level, the Ashtavakra Gita is no inferior to the Bhagavad Gita, not at all. Some people even say that the Ashtavakra Gita is actually a notch higher than the Bhagavad Gita when it comes to the purity of exposition. That might be the case, but it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter.
It is the intensity and the audacity in the setting of the Bhagavad Gita that keeps it way above any scripture in terms of its relevance, its significance. It will always remain relevant because all of us are Arjuns caught in their own flesh, in their blood, in their tears, in their emotions, in their past. And being caught, we forget what our dharma is. Therefore, a Bhagavad Gita is immortal.
I would have figured he would have said, like, every story hits everyone a little bit differently. Some relate to the Bhagavad Gita more. Some may relate to other Gitas more. And each Gita has their place in each of our lives. Each Gita means more to us at certain moments in our lives where they are more relevant than, say, the Bhagavad Gita or any other Gita for that matter. I would assume he'd say that. And let me know, would that be the case? Especially for those who have read more than just the Bhagavad Gita. The initial one I do want to read up on, or at least look into more, is the Bhagavad Gita, because I think the stories just sounds, well, for one, I like action movies, so, a freaking war going on, but then to have a person in conflict with fighting his family. Why is he fighting his family? And why is Krishna pushing him to play his role? I get it, but why? Hopefully that's explained so it makes more sense. I would assume Arjuna is really hesitant to do his dharma, and Krishna gives him a very good explanation as to why he should play his role.
As long as Arjun lives within us, we will continue to need Krishna. Are you getting it?
So real quick, that's hopefully the encouragement I give to people who likes the Bhagavad Gita to read the other Gitas. Some Gitas may not like when you're reading it. Perhaps again, I don't know. I haven't read any of them, but I would assume this may be boring. It's like, oh, this doesn't apply to me. But it's good to read them all, and then eventually, perhaps, hopefully, you don't need any of them, but some of them may come handy in a time of your life that you remember. It's like, oh, I remember this old Gita that was very boring and stupid, but now it makes so much sense, and I should read it again because it's something I need in my life now.
Also see the kind of ways Krishna uses to convince Arjun. That will tell you about what stops Arjun, and therefore what is it that all of us need to break free of our Arjunness.
Arjunness.
Krishna could have just instructed or even ordered Arjun to fight, and Arjun had sincere regards for Krishna. Chances are he wouldn't have disregarded Krishna's advice. If Krishna says, orders, point blank, fight, Arjun would have probably acquiesced.
But that's not good though.
But instead, Krishna proceeds to narrate all spiritual knowledge to Arjun. That will tell you what it was that was stopping Arjun. If to make Arjun fight, knowledge has to be given to Arjun, then what was it that was preventing Arjun from fighting?
Ignorance?
Lack of knowledge, ignorance. Now you know what stands between you and your duty.
That's what I have to find out. What is that ignorance, though, and what is that knowledge that was given? That's what I'm curious about.
Ignorance. Now you know why Krishna had to come up with the hundreds of verses when the task could probably have been done by a mere strong order. Because Krishna knew that the thing is not so straightforward. An order would probably get Arjun to fight, but only in a very half-hearted way. And you cannot defend dharma half-heartedly. Therefore the 18 chapters. Therefore the hundreds of verses. Krishna very obviously understands that it is the knot of ignorance in Arjun's mind that is keeping him from doing his duty. Therefore he attacks that knot in all possible ways. Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Vibhuti Yoga, Aishwarya Yoga, you name it. And now that we are naming the chapters, that tells us of the depth of Krishna's love for Arjun. Do you understand what it means to convince a person so much? You will not understand that if you have never really tried convincing a reluctant student in your life. Try that. Try and face the overwhelming power of ignorance, and then you will realize what Krishna is doing on that battlefield.
Man, when it's that overwhelming ignorance, I feel that is so abundant here, though. So it's not like, no, I can find ignorance everywhere, you know. I mean, I'm sure we're all ignorant of something, but there's an acceptable amount of ignorance in people because obviously we don't know everything in the universe. So we're going to be ignorant of something. But my biggest issue is the ignorance of their knowledge of something. I wonder if Sadhguru actually said, yeah, I think he did. I think Sadhguru did say something about that. And I think I can't quite remember, but I remember the idea. And the idea is basically that they think they know so much of something, but they don't. what is, I can't remember the phrase, but they know one thing. But there's like 100 things that you have to know about it to completely know it. But because of that one thing, they think they are super knowledgeable about it. But in reality, they're 99% ignorant of it and 1% knowledge of it. And they think they know it all. Ah, that is rampant. Well, I don't know if it's rampant necessarily, but just in social media you can see it. I can't remember how Sadhguru phrased it, but I remember that idea. Let me know in the comments below. If you happen to know that phrasing kind of close to what Sadhguru said, please leave it in the comments below.
The power of
Ignorance.
a student's ignorance
Oh, yeah.
can be awfully overwhelming. And Krishna is fighting against that ignorance. Verse after verse, example after example, chapter after chapter, episode after episode. He is doing everything in his capacity to not to let Arjun suffer a tragic end. Not for nothing is Krishna also called as the greatest friend ever. Otherwise, why would he invest himself so much in convincing Arjun? The kingdom is not going to go to Krishna. Or is it? What stake does Krishna have in all this? If anything, he is going to be later charged with all kinds of accusations. But look at the intensity of his love. Arjun is saying, no, 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 no. And Krishna, with all his might, delivers another lecture. And that lecture would have taken almost everything out of Krishna. And now, with eyes full of hope, Krishna looks at Arjun. Friend, now you agree, right? Right, mate? Say yes. And Arjun says, no. And the inexhaustible energy of Krishna makes him come to the next chapter. And then comes the next sequence of top class verses. And Arjun is still saying, no, 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 no.
I'm hoping, and let me rewind that because I interrupted. I'm hoping that in each of those chapters, though, he breaks down a no, but more no's are still there. So to say, like, there's 20 no's as the reason why he wants to have this, 20 of them. But for every chapter that Krishna has spoken to Arjuna, I don't know, I'll call it Arjuna, that the 20 no's, 19, 18, 17, 16 is still a no. There's still 16 no's, but they're not 20 anymore. I'm hoping I'm assuming that's the case, and I'm hoping it's not that one no. And it took Krishna 20 chapters or 20 verses to get him to change his mind. That'd be interesting. Anyways, I'd have to watch. I definitely have to look into Bhagavad Gita.
Saying no, 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 no. You know, I see that ultimately it is not Krishna's persuasiveness or erudition that won him the day. Ultimately, it is Krishna's love that won Arjun over. I see that Arjun probably didn't get much of what Krishna was trying to say. Even till the end, he was almost clueless. But one thing Arjun could sense, that if Krishna is insisting so much, there must be something in it. Otherwise, why would he spend so much of himself on me? He has nothing in all this. He will get nothing whether I fight or do not in a personal sense. So surely there must be something beyond the personal that he is persuading me for. All right, I think I must agree. Only later on, sometime later in his life, would Arjun have completely realized the depth of what Krishna was trying to tell him. Much later in his life would the total significance of Krishna's words that day on the battlefield would have dawned on Arjun. The total significance is absolute, and the absolute doesn't come so easily to anybody. It would have taken Arjun a lot of time, a lot of maturity. That's the thing with every teacher-student pair, I suppose. Much later in his life does the student really and fully realize what the teacher was trying to tell him. On the spot, when the teacher is trying to persuade the student to do or not do something, it is only the teacher's love and intensity that compels the student, not the student's realization, I repeat. The realization comes much later.
I assume because, whenever they tell you something that you've never experienced in life, you wouldn't know what to think. It's like, why are they teaching me this? It doesn't make any sense. Then all of a sudden, whenever you confront what the teacher was explaining to you, you like, oh, I see. Kind of like, don't stick your finger in or a fork in the wall socket. You're like, why are they teaching me this? And then you stick the fork into the wall socket and you get shocked, like, oh, I get it now. Don't do that. But it's in the same sense. It's the fact that, they say wear a seatbelt when you drive, because you're like, why should I? And then when you whenever you see like other people get in an accident or whatever, and you start to realize that statistically speaking, more people die because they don't wear their seatbelt because they get ejected out the car or their face hits the freaking glass, and that glass is hard, and it snaps their neck or whatever, and so you come to realize things. I guess this is the thing about a lot of things in life, where we come to realize things too late. You're like, oh, I wish I knew that before I arrived at the situation. I wish I knew this. I wish I knew that. I wish I knew this 20 years ago. All these realizations that we come up later on in life. I'm feeling like it's the same thing, but this time Arjuna has been taught it, but didn't quite fully understand, but accepted it until later on in life, much like everyone else. This is something that's very easy to relate to a lot of people, because everyone to some degree has thought to themselves, like, I wish I realized this sooner.
The student is in no situation to fully realize the import, the vastness of what the teacher is saying. He is a mere student, you see. He cannot comprehend what the teacher is saying, at least not fully. But this much he can sense, that the teacher is trying very hard. If the teacher is trying so hard,
it must mean something.
Let me listen. That's what happened with Arjuna as well. So the Bhagavad Gita is such a real and captivating story. It is an epic inside an epic.
Okay, there you go. It looks like oh, Samsung, not sponsored, by the way. I guess that's an app that he has. No, this is YouTube channel. Gotcha. Well, again, if you like his stuff, please go to his channel and subscribe. So that's very interesting. So I guess he talked mostly about how Krishna had to convince Arjuna in all the verses and chapters. And the main conflict, again, which I did hear from other gurus and swamis, was about how Arjuna was hesitant or reluctant to fight against his own blood. And Krishna had to convince Arjuna, good lord, excuse me, to play his role as Dharma. He must. Everyone, you must play your role, which is very interesting. It's kind of I can see how Arjuna's video with me talking now. I can see how Arjuna's places there. It's like, you know, their family, why are we fighting? But if you don't fight, your family will, in that situation, will probably kill you because they don't care. Obviously they did something, I think. Again, I don't know the Bhagavad Gita, but in terms of, I was going to say Swami Taratmadanda's story, I think he ended up fighting his family to take the throne back. But anyways, make sure you play your role. That way you don't get, I'm not exactly sure, taken advantage of or killed or whatever it may be. But play your role, I guess, no matter what your emotions say. Because you need to be separate from it. Again, let me know if I'm right or wrong about this. Obviously, in Advaita Vedanta, you want to separate yourself from your emotions so that you can think clearly. That's, again, Swami Taratmananda's story was about how, I can't remember the dude's name, but he was very much unaffected by the things that happened to him, and his wife was very much upset at him for that. But he played his part, he remained calm, he didn't act upon his emotions or his instincts or whatever it may be, and he probably would have been killed had he just decided to go up there and say, "You took my throne, I'm rightfully," he'd probably been over with, and that's it. But he waited and waited for the right time. And perhaps that was the role at the time. I don't know. That doesn't seem like it, but you know. But anyways, I definitely gotta watch the Bhagavad Gita, or watch or read. It is very much interesting. Everyone keeps talking about it. I think there's another one that's actually slightly above it, or at least more popular. I can't remember what it's called. But anyways, Bhagavad Gita is going to be the first one. It seems very much interesting to me. And I think that's it for this video. So if you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.